Team Rocket's the most persistent villainous team of them all, and as such, they've had a number of memorable moments over the years. They've worked their way into just about every facet of Pokemon, doing something wild in each, and I'm counting down the 10 biggest ones throughout the franchise's tenure. Now, I know what you're thinking. What, Pokemon Tower, Lake of Rage? Nah, we're going even bigger here. Some of these you may not have even heard about or remembered, but that's why I'm here to lay it all down for you. So now, without further ado, I give you my top 10 Team Rocket moments. Enjoy, everybody! We got two events to start off, square at the bottom because nothing ever came from them, leaving us to wonder, what if? The first one is when the black and white anime tried mixing new school with old school. The games just came out in America and everyone was fawning over Team Plasma. And if you kept up with the show in Japan, news of their TV debut was making the rounds. To everyone's surprise, it was going to be in a two-parter where they fought Team Rocket, and this time the Rockets were serious business. Giovanni gets out of his chair for the first time in years, and before you know it, the whole fleet is in Unova to show they're no one's fool. This was hyped up every which way, but then real-world events put a stop to that. Less than 24 hours after the final preview came the worst earthquake Japan had ever seen, and though the show didn't take a break, these episodes were skipped, likely cause all the collateral damage would have been seen in poor taste. The two teams would show up later on, but that concept of evil team versus evil team never truly came to pass. Fast forward some years and the Sun and Moon anime tried something again with the Rockets, and I was feeling it. I don't know what Giovanni does all day, but he's the only team leader who's not dead or in jail, so he's doing something right. Not only did he get more screen time, they even had the gall to give him ties to Nanu, who's basically a lowland Giovanni. Nanu gives the trio a Z-ring, and Giovanni gives him a personal ring, surprised his old friends on the other side of the law. And Nanu, being Nanu, hangs up on Pokemon's most successful crime lord, closing the book on that chapter. I've made my peace with the Rocket Plasma stuff, but I am still upset over this. It's like something from the manga, but here the anime is, lighting up our hopes and dreams just to stomp them out. Don't get invested in stuff, kids. It'll drive you mad. Team Rocket always found ways to reinvent themselves, even in their fledgling years. One guys you may not know of is Team Great Rocket from the Japan-only sequel to the trading card game on Game Boy Color, or to abbreviate, TCG GBC2, here comes Team GR. There is no way a name like that rolls off the tongue. Truthfully, I'm not even familiar with the game we got, but I hear good things about both. When this came out early 2001, Game Boy Color was old news, but my guess is the West wasn't quite ready for this. Yu-Gi-Oh! Was still a few months off our radar, so the concept of card-playing maniacs who steal cards and kidnap people still seemed too alien at the time. This guy definitely looks like he'd use the seal of Orichalcos if you let him. In true Rocket fashion, these guys have their own branded castle on their own branded island, which is actually shaped like a rocket. Your rival from the first game even goes double agent undercover to help you out from the inside. Copies of the game also came with two cards, a Lugia and the cooler of the two, a Great Rocket branded Mewtwo. If you fell into the demographic of Japanese kid in 2001 who loves the card game in multiple forms plus Team Rocket, you were probably over the moon. And if you didn't, you might still be intrigued, and thankfully there's a translation out there when you need to scratch that itch. Among all the things Pokemon Puzzle League gets right, Jessie, James, and Meowth are among the biggest highlights. Unlike all the other characters, they function as one unit and have some of the best one-liners in the game. You don't know true fear until your opponent gets a combo and you hear James's echoed laugh of revenge. They also have a whole mode devoted to them with the spa service, and the puzzles are accompanied by some of the trio's most iconic scenes and costumes. The mode's totally optional, and as I mentioned in my top 10 N64 game video, I hadn't seen it in years, but I got a kick out of all the references they squeezed in. We got their Salon Roquet get-ups, their Viking outfits from the first movie, the Kabuki costumes, the cheering squad look, which fun fact was their first ever disguise. We even got the bride and groom look from the Orange Islands, complete with Flower Girl Meowth and a Wedding March remix. You know Rocket shippers are all over this one level, even if they've never played this. With all their disguises just from this point in the show, you'd still have enough to make their own game. Really, the only nitpick I have with Team Rocket is their dull as dishwater Golbat on their team instead of something they had from the show. They had two to pick from, but I guess if they couldn't both be in, neither one could. When talking about Rocket Grunts, I mean there's not much to say. They're not meant to stand out, but there's a few noteworthy individuals. I mean, you got the 4 Rocket brothers in Silphco who aren't important to the story at all, or that one who threatens to punch your lights out, but that's pretty much it for the Grunts. Thankfully, Gen 2 has us covered with Mr. Bye-Bye-A-Go-Go. Everybody remembers this guy. He stole the power plant's machine part, came from another country, and his English was beyond broken. The one straggler left after the team's been disbanded, he's completely out of the loop when you meet him. It's almost like he got left behind, and you kinda feel sorry for the man. After battling him, he disappears, and if we never heard from him again, he'd still be remembered among the best NPCs. But in classic Pokemon fashion, they bring back an old favorite in a new guise, which was kinda foreshadowed in the remakes when he said he'd go home, but who would've guessed that home was Unova? In Icarus City during the winter, you can access his house and learn that after coming home, he was going to start his own rocket branch. That is, until he got married, had a kid, and left that all behind. Game Freak loved this guy just as much as us, and it was heartwarming seeing him do better for himself. The kind of payoff you love to see as a longtime fan. Ultra Sun and Moon were a strange set of games. I think everybody was hoping they were going to be the Black and White 2 of Gen 7, but most were let down with the changes made, notably to the story and Lucamine's character. Still, when I think of the positives they brought, if it isn't getting Larvitar in Diglett's Tunnel or the onslaught known as Ultra Necrozma, it's Team Rainbow Rocket in the post-game. I don't think anyone was asking for nor expecting this, but I equate this as Black and White 2's World Tournament for Pokemon villains. Every team leader worth their salt, and Lysander, under one roof led by the G-Man himself, coming from universes where they achieved their goals and even got the mascot legendaries. For Rocket-centric stuff, you've got your remixed themes, floor puzzles, Meowth statues, take that Persian, 3 electrodes hanging about, it ticks all the boxes. As expected, it all ends with a fight against Giovanni, which for me became one of those unforgettable Pokemon moments. He finally gets a battle theme to call his own, sporting his most iconic set of monsters, and heck, why not throw Mewtwo in there for good measure? And heck, make it Mega Evolve in the generation where the gimmick's been completely dropped. That'll catch him off guard. I can't say Episode RR saves what these games did to base Sun and Moon, but I still came out of it saying, that was a fun ride. The TCG isn't my strong suit, but I do know Team Rocket's shown up in it a few times. The first Rocket expansion introduced Dark Pokemon, or Bad Pokemon in Japanese, and from a lore perspective, I think they're fascinating. I was the guy who'd obsess over the one part of the card irrelevant to the game, the dex entries at the bottom. Most are ripped straight from the video games, but here they were all original, and for Dark Pokemon, more sinister in nature. They'd list a species-defining trait, sure, but it's emphasized how dangerous it is, or how it seems to have been corrupted. You look at Wartortle and Blastoise and think their entries will mention strong shells or longevity, but for their dark forms you get, this Pokemon has a negative attitude, or an aggressive Pokemon that tackles anything it sees. Okay then. Regular Golbat sucks blood, but Dark Golbat kills foes with one bite. The ones I remember vividly were Dark Primeape and Dark Hypno. An already vicious creature has been getting more vicious, and Creeper Hypno are now showing up at abandoned roads and schoolyards at dusk. Things like that made me relieved these things weren't real. And the artwork is, of course, fantastic. The Pokemon are seen doing something violent or just have a look of menace about them. Dark Golduck I'd stare at a lot, and I tried drawing its pose all the time. For Gen 3's EX Rocket Returns, I have 3 cards from that expansion I got from a friend. The same one that gave me Pokemon Silver all those years back, actually. Dark Sandslash, Houndoom, and Gyarados, though I think one of them is fake, but whatever. It's been a while since the Rockets have had a big presence in the card game, so I think we're due for another set like this, don't you? You think big rocket moments, your mind usually goes to things like Silphco Takeover, Radio Tower Takeover, something involving a takeover. No doubt those are defining moments, but I want to showcase something more underground. So underground, even I didn't remember all the details. Fire Red and Leaf Green Sevi Islands have a rocket subplot where they're trying to steal some gems, and it eventually leads you to the rocket warehouse on 5 Island. While the place itself is a stripped-down rocket hideout, there's a few standout events here. For one, it's the only place in the game where you see female rocket grunts. They made new artwork for them and everything, but out of the 50 grunts you'll encounter, the only 2 women are found here. Now I know the Sevi Islands are Johto's soil, because Johto rockets employ equal opportunity. And if you're up on your lore, you know this whole bit is one big prelude to events in Gold and Silver. There's references to a device that forces evolution, later seen at the Lake of Rage, and the admins have similar-ish rosters to the ones in Johto, who would become Archer and Ariana in the remakes. Though the real bombshell came from scientist Gideon, who thinks you're Giovanni's kid before saying, no, wait, his kid has red hair. Silver was my first main series game, and I still remember how my eyes bugged out from that revelation. And say you're someone who had these games as your intro to Gen 1, then played Heart Gold and Soul Silver 6 years later and retained this side quest in your head. Come on, there has to be somebody out there. I know you exist. You think my TCG knowledge could be better? There's times I forget the manga is a thing. Not to say it's bad, quite the opposite, but the first time I saw it in the flesh was on a field trip back in 2007. On the way to Center Island, I see a friend with a book called Pokemon Adventures, and that resulted in the best ferry ride I've ever had. I haven't read past the Gold and Silver chapters, but chapters red through yellow are prime manga material. And if you know Adventures, you know Team Rocket is nuts here. They're so dead serious, their name is an acronym, one that doesn't make a lot of sense in English, but I'll give them props for trying. When we're introduced to them, they're actively trying to kill the protagonists using injections to force evolution, and the head turner that gets everyone who doesn't already know, half of the admins are gym leaders. Very bold move for untested waters at the time. Not only did they break all conventional laws, they broke the laws of physics too. Forcing an Eevee to devolve and switch between evolutions is pretty out there, but that's just a teaser. I used to dream about what would happen if you merged the legendary birds together, and I even had a name for it in Zapmol Kuno, but the Rockets already did it before Pokemon stepped out of Japan. Then we got Blaine, who created Mewtwo by using some of his own DNA. Half of the game villains can only dream of what these guys did in 1997. And I know I've only scratched the surface of manga Rockets, so I think I need to read some more in the future. And you do too, actually. Go out and read it right now. Team Rockets even managed to seep their way into our world, though they usually stick to Japan when that happens. But on April 1st, 2018, us Westerners got a taste of that in one of the more fun corporate April Fool's pranks I've seen. TPCI called it the Team Rocket Takeover, and we've seen character takeovers on social media before, but they went the extra mile here. It all kicked off with an announcement video from everybody's favorite trio, actually voiced by their actors from the show. We now have official dialogue of Meowth promoting a YouTube channel, and while I'm a bit conflicted about that, my face lit up hearing this, and I need to hear more.
Anyway, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.
Meowth, this is not that kind of video.
Oh, yeah.
Pokemon.com, aka your backup when Bulbapedia is down, also had 4 Rocket-themed articles on their site. They had spotlights for the trio and their most memorable Pokemon, plus Yamask. Not a jab, he's the only one missing a picture for his blurb. We also got a highlight of their TCG career, and one showcasing the performance of select grunts, and this one was legit funny. Never thought I'd see an official Pokemon article grill the man who dropped the lift key, but it gave me a good laugh. Then by the day's end, the trio closed us out as things went back to normal, and it was just a good day to reflect on why Team Rocket's so much fun. But like I said, this is merely a taste of what the Rockets can do when they're abroad. For something a bit more out there, well, let's see. In 2017, the Pokemon anime reached its 1000th episode. The episode in question depends on the country, and even then the choices don't make sense, but it's still a milestone worth celebrating. And how do you think Japan did that? Well, by overthrowing a government body, obviously. In October, the government site of Japan's Saga prefecture got a bit more lively, with a makeover and a handwritten note courtesy of Team Rocket. They were looking for new recruits, from kids to adults. All you had to do was meet up in Saga in the coming weeks where it was all going down. The next month, they held a Team Rocket press conference where they hoped to gain 10 million recruits from Japan and the world over. A cute idea, but they really did commit to this. Saga's governor, Yamaguchi Yoshinori, dressed like Giovanni, redecorated his office appropriately, and Saga was renamed Sagaki, a mix of Saga and Giovanni's Japanese name Sakaki. I know nothing of this man's political practices, but he's got my vote. The campaign also featured a real-life Meowth air balloon, which took to the skies during Saga's International Balloon Festival. It later showed up at Yoshinogari Historical Park at an event where 1,000 Rocket recruits came together to form an image of Pikachu, seen from above. There were also stamp rallies, official t-shirts, Rocket-themed lights during another festival. Who would have ever seen a group based on the Mafia having such a positive effect on the real world? And of all the Rocket-themed events to happen in Japan, it might not even be the biggest, but I'll save the others for another time. Team Rocket should have been one and done, but they've stayed in the public consciousness as long as Pokemon itself. And if a campaign that realizes our dreams of joining their ranks spurred by that grunt on Nugget Bridge doesn't prove that, nothing does. Thanks for giving this video a watch, everybody. I really do appreciate it. If you enjoyed what you saw, feel free to give this video a like, comment, feel free to subscribe if you want. Check out my social media pages, my Patreon page if you want to support me more directly and get behind-the-scenes perks on video production, all that stuff that I ramble on about at the end. And do you have a personal favorite moment of Team Rocket? Maybe one that I didn't bring up here? Whatever it is, feel free to share it with me in the comments below. I'd love to read them. And while you're here, feel free to check out the videos I got on screen. I enjoyed making them, hopefully you'll enjoy watching them. And with all that said, I'll see you guys next time for another installment in this month of Pokemon. Catch you later!